Hello, good morning. I hope everybody is well. I have got so much to talk about today that I think this video is going to have to be split into 2 or possibly even 3 parts. I've got a fabulous giveaway for everybody to join in, and I've got the new release to talk about. I've had a wonderful delivery of linen. I've had some things back from the framers. I've had 2 new books, and I've had a beautiful project pouch come. So loads to talk about. So you're going to have to bear with me. My week has been an odd week, but it's been an exciting week as well. If I go back to last weekend, I can't remember if I mentioned in my video, I never watch my videos back, I cringe when I see myself. So, but I think I mentioned that I had a problem with my car. Anyway, it turned out that the power steering had gone completely on my car, and I'd only done just over 3,000 miles. So my car had to go off to the garage, and on Tuesday, I couldn't have it Monday because it was a holiday in the UK, but on Tuesday they sent me a loan car, and that's the very good thing about the company that make my car. They do have a very good roadside assistance and keeping you mobile. So they actually sent me a brand new Range Rover Sports to use as a loan car, and this car came on a truck, and it only had 10 miles on the clock, but didn't have any fuel in it. So I went to get some fuel, and our petrol station is by our Tesco supermarket. So I popped into the supermarket and did some food shopping. Came back to the car. I opened the door in the back, opened it, leant over and put some shopping bags on the seat, got into the front, and off I went driving to Falmouth to go to my framers. And I'd sort of been driving about 30 minutes, and I just happened to look down, and you would not believe the big blob of black car grease I had on my shirt, and it had been pressed in because I had leant over and pressed against the sort of arch of the wing, you know, where the door opens. So I nearly died, so I pulled over and I thought, oh my God. So anyway, I was so close to the framers, I just had to go and sort out my business there, and I came back, went back to the supermarket to try and get some Stain Devil, and our supermarket, it still hasn't got everything that you would expect, you know, pre-COVID. Anyway, they didn't have any Stain Devil, so on my phone I googled how to get car grease out of clothing, and it was WD-40 and washing up liquid. Now I knew I had WD-40 in the shed at home, so I came home and I got some paper towels, and I put my shirt on top of the paper towels and sprayed WD-40 on it. Now there was no point doing a test because this was kill or cure. Anyway, I sprayed the WD-40 on my shirt, and the internet is said to leave it for 10 to 20 minutes. But I didn't do that. I left it for a minute, and I could start to see the car grease lift. So I got some paper towels and I did this, and the car grease was coming off on the paper towels. So I did that quite a few times, sprayed a bit of more WD-40 on it and just gave it a rub, and you would not believe it, there was nothing left on my shirt. Now it was also on the other side of my shirts, but not so much, so I did that, rinsed it all off with some washing up liquid, put my shirt into the washing machine for a quick wash, and I could not believe it. Look at that. You would never think that stain would come out. So although that's got nothing to do with needlework, it was just such a brilliant way of removing car grease. I thought I would share that with you. Whilst maybe I'll never get car grease on me again, I'm sure there's lots of ladies whose husband gets car grease on their clothing as well. Anyway, that's a side note from needlework. So anyway, at the Framers, I had, I think it was 5 or 6 models I wanted some backing board cut for, and I was picking up some work that had been framed and photographed, and I did share 2 of those on social media this week. I couldn't resist sharing them. They were just so beautiful. One of the ones I shared were the Alexanders of Linstratham, and for those of you who have been following my Flosstubes, you will remember the original sampler. I showed her in the early weeks of lockdown, and the model stitcher, the contented stitcher, she adored this sampler, and her needle flew in record time, and I am so thrilled with how the model turned out. And this sampler, we're going to release her on St Andrew's Day, November the 30th, because it's a Scottish sampler and St Andrew's Day is Scotland's special day, and also that means that it's in time for Christmas to go onto your Christmas shopping list. Then one of the other samplers that I picked up was Anne Webb, which Sandra and I affectionately know as the Billy Goat's Gruff. And this model was stitched by Jodie Esler in Australia. It was reproduced by Sandra in Australia. And this sampler, it's delightful. It's a very happy sampler. The colours and the motifs, they're just so pretty. And although the colours are bright, they're mellow at the same time. Very, very pretty sampler, and this sampler will release in time for Christmas as well. So we hope that you love those 2 samplers as much as I do, and they go on your Christmas list. We're very good at dealing with husbands. If they're on your Christmas list and your husbands contact us, we will organise that so they have presents to give you on Christmas Day. Okay, so what else did I pick up? Well, I had sent some of my work back to have non-reflective Mizian quality glass put on. So I picked up Mary Woodward, and you know, that non-reflective glass is very, very good. Yes, you could pick up a little reflection, but hardly anything. And when you look at it and you go to touch it, you're really shocked there's something there. I've had second thoughts about how I've had this one framed. I think I should not have had so much of a gap between the needlework and the little fillet I had put in the frame. If I framed this one again, I would choose the same frame. This frame is beautiful, but I would have it framed much closer to the needlework. There we are. You know, we make choices and we have to live with them, or we have to change them. The next piece was Tickled Pink. Now this is a free PDF as a thank you gift for the people that are joining in the Jane Fiddis Stitch Along. And then I had Jane Hardy. I have the glass put in Jane Hardy, and Jane is now going off with Mary to the Attic Needleworks to go on display there. I love this sampler. Really, really love this sampler. And then I also picked up Agnes' husband. She is with her glass in, and Agnes is going off to the Attic Needleworks to be on display as well. Then I picked up another Scottish sampler, which is very, very similar to Agnes, but a bigger version, and this one was stitched by Eliza Nisbet in 1839, and she's put Edin, and I believe that this was stitched in Edinburgh. Now, Eliza Nisbet is the prize for the draw at the end of the Anne Morrison stitch along. So everybody who completes Anne Morrison in the first year of the stitch along, and that starts at the beginning of December, their name will go into a draw, and somebody is going to win this antique sampler. Now, I had taken Eliza out of her frame because I wanted to do two things. I wanted a better piece of glass put in. The glass that was on the originally on Eliza, it had a frosted look to it. I think, well, I'm not quite sure what it was, but it really sort of spoilt being able to see the stitching. And this sampler is in exceptionally good condition. And now the frame has been restored. I've given Eliza a clean, and I've also charted Eliza. And Eliza will be released next year as a little gem, so that everybody can stitch their version of Eliza. But you know, somebody's going to win Eliza as well. Now, Eliza was originally stitched on wool, and to date, Hands Across the Sea Samplers has only reproduced using silk. But you know, needlework is a journey. Reproducing samplers is a journey as well, and we want to experiment. We want to grow as needleworkers. We want to grow as reproductionists as well. So we have made the decision that we are going to have the model stitched for Eliza in wool, and Vina in Iceland is going to stitch the model for us. And Eliza only uses two colours, and we are going to use Auvera Soie, of course. We love Auvera Soie, and Auvera Soie actually have a fine Aubusson wool, and that's what we're going to use. Now, we have really ummed and ahed about the linen, and we've had to think outside of what we have in our stash, because our stash of linens tends to be 36, 40, 46, 56, and then the uneven 52, 62s. And we really had to have a good think about what we were going to use. And for me, linen isn't only about colour, it's about texture as well, the weave of the linen. And when I started looking at the lower count linens that we needed to be able to use the wool, the linen that I really liked was, and I have a piece of it here, was Rain Barrel by Legacy Linen. But Rain Barrel, although it was the right count, it wasn't the right colour. So I tea-dyed Rain Barrel, and this has come out a really lovely colour for Eliza's sampler to be stitched on. And I really like the weave on this, so this is what we're going to use, tea-dyed Rain Barrel. So we are growing because we're using a different type of thread, and we are playing with dyeing fabric. And the Rain Barrel is on its way to Vina in Iceland, and Vina's going to tea dye her piece of linen as well. And it's nothing to be afraid of, and we will in the PDF download talk about how we dyed the linen, so that you will be able to have a go as well if you want. You might decide to stitch the Eliza on linen where you're happy with the colour, or a different type of linen that gives you a good colour match anyway. Vina, living in Iceland, will be stitching Eliza in the dark winter months that Iceland has, and she says that she's really looking forward to sort of cozying down with Eliza and with wool. It all sounds really cosy for those sort of long dark days that Iceland has in the winter. When Vina has dyed her rain barrel, she'll share that with us, and we will share those photographs with you, and we'll keep you up to date with some sneak peeks of Eliza being stitched. Now, the other thing with Eliza relating back to Anne Morrison is Heather M. Jardine, the thank you gift that comes with the Anne Morrison booklet. Well, I finished my version of Heather, and Heather is all about either stitching her as a true reproduction or experimenting on this needlework journey and growing by stitching from stash and using your own colours. So I finished Heather, and Heather has now become Violet. So this sampler is now My Wish for Violet, and I've put the date 2020 on the sampler. I've stitched Violet in a medium violet, and I've put my initials, Nicola Violetta Parkman, and Violetta is Italian for violet, and I've stitched the V in a slightly deeper shade than I used for Violet's name, and that's because I felt that as you get older you deepen your heart, your soul, your mind, everything grows and becomes richer. So I just wanted to use a stronger shade of violet. Now Heather is a New Zealand sampler, and I wanted to have something in this sampler that spoke of where this sampler came from. Now Heather most probably attended St Mary's School in Stratford, and that school is now called the Taranaki School, and what they call their maxim, I think that we would call it in England the school motto, is beautiful. And I'm not going to attempt to speak or pronounce the Maori language, but this is their school motto. Now, on their website, this translates as courageous leader, successful leader, and resolute leader. And I Googled this, and I understand that it can also translate as courageous woman, successful woman, and resolute woman. And that is my wish for Violet, that she grows up to be courageous, that she is successful, and that she is resolute, because those things will carry her through life and will give her the skills to bring up her children successfully as well. So that is my little sampler for Violet. I have now laced, and she is ready to go back to the framers to be framed. In my visit to the framer this week, I dropped off the original Heather, and Heather is being framed, and then I am gifting the original Heather to Sandra's grandson Thomas, and that's my gift, his birth gift from me, and Sandra's very, very lucky. Her son Matthew and her daughter-in-law Alison, they totally understand needlework and samplers, and I know that that original sampler will be very carefully cherished and looked after until Thomas is of an age to appreciate the antique sampler himself, and hopefully that will get passed on to one of his children as well. So this week, I think it was probably, the days, they just all merge into one. I think it was only yesterday that I laced this, and I shared the process of lacing this sampler in the Anne Morrison Stitch Along group on Facebook.